I tell you, all of that sounds so great. I think I need a Wiv agent for my kids' chores because action is the hardest part for them too. I mean, it is. I mean, it just can we somehow work? I mean, you're a smart guy. Could you figure out a way to get my kids to get their chores done? Welcome to the vodcast, presented by Vega Cloud. I'm Cameron Hatten, hosting this week, and I'm joined by our friends from Wiv and a friend from Vega. We'll do introductions in just a second. We're excited to share with you some key insights around the FinOps space, and if you like what you hear, please subscribe to the channel. With no further ado, I'd like to introduce our friends here. We've got our distinguished director here from Vega Cloud, Joe Conlin. Joe, say hello.
Hello, Internet. Nice to be here with you today. Thanks, Cam. So, hi, everyone. I'm Joe, technologist, started in the data center, moved to the cloud, and focused on FinOps here with Vega Cloud. And I work with customers adopting cloud and that have challenges understanding spend and sort of how to match solutions to that.
Great.
Roni,
And then we've got Roni.
Hi everyone, so my name is Roni. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Wiv. I'm in the FinOps space in the last 7 years. Before Wiv, I was a co-founder and CEO of Pillars, is a cloud cost management platform acquired by Anodot, and today we help customers to automate their FinOps process with a no-code platform.
Amazing. Yeah. Excited to hear from both of you on the topics we have today. We're going to try to cover 4 topics if we can get through them all. Joe gets a little chatty, so we'll see how we do.
That's me.
No, first and foremost, I'd love to chat a little bit about the power of Vega and Wiv together. In my mind, it's like complementary strengths with one desired outcome for our customers. Joe, I'll start with you. In your many conversations with enterprise and MSP clients, where does Vega play a role? Where do you see the biggest blind spots that Vega is helping surface?
Yeah, in general with FinOps, there's just a lot of domains and disciplines that require expertise to do FinOps well and manage all the moving parts and pieces. What Vega is really focused at, one of our biggest areas is really data quality and accuracy, making sure that your cloud cost, your billing data that's flowing through, you're doing all your analysis on top of is accurate, correct, creating that solid foundation for what you do next. And that's, to me, one of the things that has been super interesting with Wiv is the ability to then take that insight and do things with it with the confidence, knowing the data and everything kind of fits within your organization and what's meaningful.
Yeah. It all starts with the good foundation. And so many times we've seen a customer struggling just to get the data right to begin with. And then from there on out, it's a mess. So that's helpful. Roni, you, as it relates to where Wiv plays a role, you've said that Wiv is focused on rapid orchestration, I think is the term. Can you give us an example for our audience of where that orchestration takes an insight to action?
Yes, of course. So, and maybe I will just add one sentence about the 1 + 1 = 3 and the integration between Wiv and Vega and why it can add a huge added value for both customers. And I think that first of all, it's like in FinOps, the first phase and the first step that in companies that want to understand or to establish FinOps culture in their company is to start with visualization, start to understand their cloud costs, and the basic is to make it very accurate and to be trust on the numbers, and then to be able to generate some insight. And this is kind of what Vega doing very well. And then what we heard again and again from a customer at the time we was at Pillar. So another that great visibility and recommendation is it's really great, but if we can help them to take the recommendation and to automate it. And this is also will answer the second question regarding the orchestration, and is like to be able to connect for any third party, focus on the cloud ops or the FinOps, and to take the insight from there, like the recommendation from Vega, and then to be able to automate the entire process. And I think the key is to understand that the cloud cost optimization is not one size fit all, and each company have different process, and sometimes even in one company between different department or project or environment, you want to implement different processing. So for example, if Vega will identify the some saving opportunity like either kinesis or load balancer, and then the first thing that they can do with Weave is to be able to clean the false positive by the internal logic, like if they have specific tag of the load balancer or specific account and so on. The second is to be able to connect to another third party to do the owner mapping. So for each saving opportunity is not in very general, like, okay, you have $1 million of potential saving, and now who should take care about it? You can find for each resource who the owner, then send for approval. You can send again with Slack, Teams, any notification system, and this is another integration for another platform, third party, and then take the action, and based on the environment and the company preferences, that you can create a Jira ticket, you can create the leads load balancer, or for each use case you can implement the remediation, and in this way, in very simple way, you can implement the cloud governance and start save money and not stop in a beautiful dashboard.
Yeah. No, you bled into my last question on this topic, which was more around why does the 1 + 1 = 3, and how did this partnership come together? I'll turn it back to Joe. Curious on how you see that collaboration helping enterprises in their FinOps journey.
Yeah, it's just like Roni had mentioned there. It's that integration, being able to be flexible with all these different aspects of FinOps, so that you can sort of leverage the right tool for the job. And it comes down to these integration points. So, do you have access to data through an API? How much data do you have access to, so that you can then do things with that? So, first, having good data is great. Also, making that available to then be processed by other solutions like Wiv, that allow you to do a lot of smart and really just powerful things with it. Super important. But it all comes back to this complementary sort of way of operating together. So, I mean, pretty much every SaaS platform is going to have some integrations to some extent, but I think it's just going to keep coming back down to how much of that data that is trustworthy can you expose via an API to then tie in and do other smart things with. And then, not to say the buzzword, but that's what AI is looking for. You need data to make intelligent decisions. You need good data to do that. So I don't know if that was your question, but the complementary aspect.
You nailed it. Nailed it.
It's a
We're gonna get to AI
chatty
here in a
time.
minute. No, that was fantastic. I'm super excited to see these outcomes come forward. It's kind of this connection is the missing loop for, I think, a lot of folks out in, operating at scale and in FinOps. Speaking of that, operating at scale, operationalizing it is another element, and that's just all about execution. Tony, back to you. You've been championing this idea of recommendation to execution in under 30 minutes, which is music to our ears. From a cultural perspective, what do you think needs to happen or exist in an organization to make that a reality?
Yeah, so first of all, I think maybe from the culture perspective, the first and the most important is the collaboration with the R&D, because if the FinOps team will thought like they know the best what the R&D team need to do, and without any collaboration, probably it will not success. The second, I think it's very important, at least from my experience, is that the management will be involved. Okay, because once the management is involved, have the prioritize to engage the R&D to take action, because otherwise, even if you will reduce the friction, and this is what we are trying to do all the time, to reduce the friction from engineering to take action, okay, they don't have any appetite to do it. And once the management is involved and they can define some KPI and at least to say or to emphasize who save money, I think it's super important. So the first is the collaboration between the team. The second is the management involvement. And I
Mhm.
think from the technical perspective is to be able to reduce the friction. To reduce the friction is means that to clean false positive, because once you have so much recommendation, I remember that at the time at Pillars, we showed to the customers, you can save $6 million, but you just need to review 33,000 of recommendation. It's impossible to even to review it. Okay, I don't talk about it to implement it, but and a lot of them is false positive, like 25%, because any business have some internal constraints. It can be business constraints or application constraints, and the Murphy rules. The engineer will review one, two, and it's false positive, and it's say okay, the recommendation is great, but not for us because this great reason. So to be
Yeah.
able to clean false positive, okay, by internal constraint, and then find the owner. Because if you will receive very long list without the ability to know who should take action, it not help so much. And then to be able to implement it by very simple way, or by click, or by open a pull request, or by open Jira ticket, and to automatically review the status of the Jira ticket. And I believe that the automation should be your co-pilot. It should be your helper to implement everything and to reduce any friction that it can be. And I think also very interesting thing that OpenAI just released also their kind of workflow builder. So they also understand that AI is great, but the power of the deterministic workflow involving the AI, probably it will be the future and the solution to make a accurate thing, probably in production or in cloud environment in general.
Yeah. I love that stat about 25%. We have some benchmarks of our own that I think would back that number up, in terms of like 25% is just not going to be able to be actioned for very good reasons, but you have to understand what those reasons are and the business context behind them. Joe, as you think about that, Vega does very granular recommendations as well, right? And our customers are looking through a pile of recommendations that they can then hand off to a workflow and Wiv or what have you. But before that, how does Vega help prioritize those insights for something that is deemed execution worthy for their clients?
So a lot of it comes down to like what Roni mentioned there. It's sort of the culture aspect and being able to gather context through whatever means, and that means sometimes it's a conversation, working with stakeholders. Knowing who a stakeholder is also ties back to your allocations of costs. So if you don't have that attribution of cost to specific teams or people, then it's harder to also build the context in. So all of those pieces come together to help put that lens on when you see your recommendation, what can be done and what is meaningful to a business, what is something that is being accommodated through some other plan that it just doesn't speak through software automated means. Example I always use is if you have, say, an application and your architects and engineers are building on another version of this, you're modernizing it to leverage more cloud native services. That effort may not tie back to the current cost of that platform, but rather than refocusing that engineering time in the near term to optimize that platform, you may be better suited to continue forth with the modernization efforts to kind of take a whole fresh new look. So
Hmm.
roundabout example explanation is it kind of depends, and you need to have that channel and the culture internally where you can gather that context and bring it forth. In Vega, that's part of a motion with clients that we work with, where we're helping to rationalize things like that and form that back into recommendations that show up. And then it's it sounds simple, but it is hard to achieve if you don't have a platform to support it. It's really just being able to tie data pieces together so you can pivot by different dimensions, allocations, sort your recommendations by the highest potential, start to filter that down by different teams or technology stacks within that pool of resources. Those are the
Hmm.
things that Vega helps with our customers, at least to dive in and get more granular with. But again, it's just human nature. You need to trust a recommendation. You need to know that the data is good. What you're looking at is applicable to you, your responsibility. And then how do you action it? Are you gathering all the right pieces?
Yeah.
Hey, you were right. I am
No.
chatty, aren't I?
No. It's too much,
Let
too
me
much
go.
ins-
Let me cook.
too many insights in that brain. We need all of them. No, that's it. It is. It is. It is interesting when you think about how, as Roni put it, how daunting a list of recommendations can be unless you can prioritize them in a meaningful way with context and help provide the appropriate workflow for execution. So back to you, Roni, while we wrap up this subject. When you think about that in an operational world, as you see this work for customers, what does a good handoff look like from recommendation to action?
So I think it's totally depend of the environment. We have some customers that automatically identify the uh, EBS unattached and then clean false positive based on the environment and some special tags, and then send for approval. And once the user approved to delete all of the EBS unattached, that he is the owner of the volumes, is automatically creates snapshot and deletes the EBS. So I think it's and for us is amazing because we show to the customer the realized saving, not only the potential saving, and also with the stopped instance and do some scheduling for dev environment and more. But for production, a lot of time it can stop by create Jira ticket and to manage the processing of the Jira ticket and make sure that someone take look and take action, and if not to do some escalation. And a lot of time it's also stopped by create some pull requests, because especially where you are manage your cloud infrastructure with IAC, you want the ability to make the change in the IAC code to avoid some drift, and then you need to create pull requests and to review it and so on. So I think it's totally depend of the environment, but
Right.
and usually in the dev it's more like to real take action to make the change, and in the production a lot of time it will be to create the ticket and to manage and automate the operational process.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think it's a it's a new world with the workflow capability. I mean, speaking of new worlds, that takes us into our next subject, which is this small little topic called AI. I don't know if you guys have heard about it, but I think it's
How do you
new.
spell it? How do you spell that?
Uh, the thing I think is most exciting about where Wiv and Vega play together is the topic that is around FinOps quite a bit, which is FinOps for AI versus AI for FinOps. I think there's a really nice marriage there between Vega and Wiv, um, and specifically that there's a bit of a Venn diagram, as our friend Willie Sennett loves to say. But it is a bit of a Venn diagram. But there is a piece that seems like Vega is more focused on, and a piece that Wiv is more focused on. And so I'd love to explore that with you two just a little bit here Joe, specifically as you think about breaking it down from a Vega perspective, FinOps for AI, it is a lens behind where AI is essentially costing our customers a lot of money, and there is business value, but they have to find the business value. I'm curious from your lens, what does FinOps for AI actually look like today? Because it's going to change, but what does it look like today in terms of billing visibility and cost management and optimization?
Yeah, the good news is that a lot of the FinOps framework and practices still apply when looking at your AI spend. So that muscle memory does apply. Your AI costs will flow through on a bill, and there's a lot of different ways that can show up in your cloud bill, be it through marketplace, through different AI providers. You can have direct agreements. You can also be running your own infrastructure to support training or inference. And there's all these different lenses, to use that term, that you can put towards your cloud costs and still apply the FinOps practices, rates times usage, and other just forecasting, anomaly detection, managing, and starting to build your KPIs specific to either products that are applicable to your business or lines of business that you're looking at, or even just applications in general, part of those business efforts. So
Hmm.
tools like Vega that give you that granularity and are able to tie the pieces on your build together will help to surface those insights. And today we have customers that are building out even custom KPI dashboards, going down in the unit economics path, seeing
Hmm.
what the impact looks like. The challenge then, um, maybe to pontificate a tiny bit, is with this evolving space, trying to track tokens, and as teams are trying to innovate and sort of unlock the business value of these AI projects, um, there isn't necessarily a consistent or a consistent billing model that you can expect at all times. So it is a little bit like surfing a wave. So I hear, I'm not a surfer, but trying to stay ahead of the changing trends. So you still need these core principles of being able to see where spend is going, react quickly, know who to go to interact with it, and that's the FinOps for AI part of the Venn diagram, which
Yeah.
then leads to the other side of the challenges. Like, what do you do with this? You see something's run away. How do we stop the bleed?
You know, it. I love the way you make it very simple in so much as like AI. It's a use case, just like so many cloud services are a use case, and you just have to apply the right principles to that use case to make sure you're managing it appropriately. And while it can be very costly used inappropriately, so can any cloud service for any use case. So breaking it down to it's just another use case that has to have business value. And then to your point about the powerful BI tool that is built into the Vega platform and how customers are using that to basically surface their own AI KPI dashboards, it's really cool. From there, then we get to flip it to the other side, which is AI for FinOps. And Roni, curious your perspective there, because I feel like that's a real sweet spot for Wiv. From an orchestration perspective, how do you see AI for FinOps? How have you built AI for FinOps, and how does it show up in Wiv's workflow activity?
We believe that the ability to use AI to to make few very cool things. First of all, to build smart automation in a simple way, so you can describe what you want, and the AI know exactly all of the best practice of the FinOps space and what to check and how, and they have all of the knowledge base people of 10 years of experience, and even that the FinOps is kind of new. It was another name before FinOps, but the principle is the same principle, and maybe the change and a little bit. then to be able to use AI to generate tailored finance automation, I think this is the first and the most common use case. In addition, recently, maybe 2 months ago,
Mm-hmm.
released the Wiv is the AI agent for FinOps, and for our customers is helping a lot with the ability to, first of all, for MSP to do analysis of the hundreds of customers and to understand with which customers I need to talk today, what is the most priority thing, and for the FinOps that need to review 100 customers and to understand exactly what is the most critical and stuff to do is very difficult. But this is only the first step because the agent also know to communicate with the customer. And also if you need to take some action in the cloud provider or to in the Slack, you can ask from the agent, okay, let's terminate the unattached volume or let's delete the EC2 idle. And based on the confirmation, it also can take action. And I think it's something that is a big differentiation between the Wiv agent and the regular agent in the market is because the regular FinOps agent is more like read only and to do some analysis. And Wiv is the first FinOps agent that also can take action. And this is also something that what we believe the integration between Vega and Weave can work very well. That the Weave know all of the API of Vega and know to do all of the analysis with all of the data that Vega can collect, and then to take in a very simple way in free language only the information that the customer want to see now, and to be able to generate the report in a very simple way and send in mail or Slack and to communicate, and based on the feedback from the customer to continue with the automation, I think is a key changer in the industry, and also what the feedback from the customers that we heard so far. So this is a part of the AI for FinOps is the ability to build automation, to use AI to do analyzing of the data, and to find opportunities that even if you didn't think about it before, it can give you some new idea. And maybe only one thing about the AI or how I feel it is that the AI have a great advantage that it can give you a lot of new idea, a lot of creative of new thing on the FinOps, but in the second hand, the disadvantage is that is not deterministic. Each time can generate a new result. And in the FinOps, sometimes because it's finance, because it's your cloud infrastructure, you want more accuracy, you want more stability data. So you need to find the exactly point that you say, okay, in this process, I want to do it deterministic and maybe only to involve the LLM power. And in this process, I want to make it full agent and to base full on AI.
I tell you, all of that sounds so great. I think I need a Wiv agent for my kids' chores because action is the hardest part for them too. It is. I mean, it just can we somehow work? I mean, you're a smart guy. Could you figure out a way to get my kids to get their chores done? No, I mean, listen, that's the beauty. That's the power of the partnership. You know, that ability to make sense of the data and then do something with it, and leveraging the power of AI, which is coming at us so fast, and it's very exciting. Harnessing it is what's going to make us all super effective, and our FinOps teams that we get to work with every day at our customers, um, help them get raises or whatever it is that they're out there to get. So, all right, we're going to move on. That was great. Thanks for that. The next topic I wanted to touch on, because it seems like it's one that we are both working with quite a bit, is this nuance between our customers. And when I think about our customers, I think about them in terms of I just break them up into enterprise organizations and MSPs or partners. And I think a lot of times it feels like the workflows or the business case is different between them. But I would argue that they're more similar than they are different. And I would be curious if you would agree or disagree with that. Healthy debate. Roni, I'll start with you. I mean, as you think about the working with the enterprise and and then working with an MSP as an example. Do you see the same thing? Do you see that there's a lot more similarities than there are differences, or do you see it a different way?
And so I think is have a lot of similarity because the bottom the MSP is to be able to support multi-tenant, and in enterprise a lot of time you also need this exactly the same capability of a multi-tenant, and then for big enterprise a lot of time is a merge of a lot of acquisition. So also you have the CCOE, the cloud cost of excellence teams that need to support a lot of different team or different internal companies, and it's very similar to the MSPs that need to support a lot of customers and so on. But in the same time, I also see a lot of differentiation between between the enterprise and the MSP, is because first of all, I think the MSP using automation not only to reduce cloud costs or to monitoring the cloud environment, also with a lot of operational processing of onboarding the customer, communicate with the customers, and so on. And also, I think one of the big differentiation is that the MSP also using Wiv to increase their margin, like to make the sales cycle shorter, to find some ace opportunity, and a lot of this kind of stuff. And usually the FinOps team is least focused on this kind of use cases. And the last is because at the end, a lot of time for enterprise, and maybe in very big enterprise is not is different, but a lot of time in the enterprise, once the management is involved and you have his power, okay, you have a lot of engagement from the R&D. And here in the MSP, you need to work with a lot of different customers, and you need a lot of champion to be engaged, and a lot of management team to be engaged. So it's a little bit different, but in the principle of the workflow automation with the human feedback to find the seven opportunity to take this action and so on, it's similar. It's correct that a lot of time MSP work with a lot of small customers, so the behavior is a little bit different once you are big enterprise, and what the permission you give to your MSP or to the automation that you make sure that everything work well, that you are the owner of the tool. So a lot of similarity in the use case, in the general FinOps use case, but I still think that the MSP have some unique behavior, some unique use case. And from our side, even that we are working with great big enterprise, we found that for MSP, using Wiv is really critical task for them. They generate each day a lot of workflows that save them a lot of time, increase their margin, and also help them to give much better service for their customers.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, having come from that space ourselves, even thinking about that workflow automation and how it could allow you to be way more efficient, and increase your margins, makes a ton of sense. Joe, to you, same question, really. How do you see first the different, and how different are these two customers of ours, the enterprise and the MSP, or how similar? And then maybe just to piggyback on that, from a Vega lens, like how is it that Vega helps with that cost visibility in a multi-tenant world?
Yeah, the word that jumps out, because it applies to really any organization concerned with FinOps, it's workflow. And I think it's more pronounced with an MSP or reseller, somebody who's providing sort of this capability to different teams, different customers. If you're an enterprise running, say you're in a conglomerate and you run different businesses and you're kind of offering this to these different teams, workflow is so important because you don't have necessarily enough hours in the day, and you're making trade-offs for some of that business context, like I was mentioning earlier. So what is workflow? Uh, One, do your customers as an MSP have a question on this number? Is my bill right? how does my invoice look like this? I need some more deep dive. And now you've opened a can of reconciliation worms, if that's a thing. And that costs time. And now you're making trade-offs for how deep you can go with other customers or get more nuance and adding value. And that's similar, from an MSP to an enterprise where maybe instead of an external customer, it's an internal customer. It's one of those lines of business. So if your workflow isn't set up to allow you to do that context switching between the different points of view, then you're making some trade-offs. If you, as that MSP or even FinOps team in an enterprise, need to do extra work to answer the questions that your customers, again, internal or external, are asking you, you're making trade-offs. And this also dives into margin costs. So the important thing, I think workflow is so important because the nuances will be a little bit different with different customers. As an MSP, maybe your workflow is part of your differentiation itself and how you like to engage with customers. And so you want that flexibility, but y- you need results too. So a lot of
Mm.
nice features or other things could be great, but if it's not helping you get the job done, support your workflow, you're kind of moving in a different direction. And maybe the final piece to this thought to answer your question on kind of where Vega fits in this, it's those workflows in a platform like Vega. They're similar whether you're working with an enterprise with internal teams and needing to carve out based on roles and permissions what segments of your bill teams see, or if you need sort of this larger perspective as an MSP with multi-tenancy, different orgs, everything set up with their own SSO and even branding, things like that. Being able to do all that seamlessly, still have your roll-up reporting, be able to look at your rates versus what's being re-rated for your customers in just an easy way. So when you get that call, why does my bill look like this? You could jump in quickly, see what that customer's seeing. It's if you've worked in the role, the pain of, the dashboard looks good, but now I got to jump to two different screens, and what could have been a 5-minute call turns into a 35-minute call, and multiply that by hundreds of customers, and you're chasing dashboards all day long for a living. So
Yeah, yeah. I'm still surprised as to how few companies, platforms have solved the multi-tenant re-rating problem. Because to Roni's point, in the enterprise, that's a thing. Many of our customers re-rate their chargeback showback, to pay for the cost of the resources, or to pay for something else, or they treat shared services differently, or what have you. The the in it's a little sad for the market, I think. It's good for us, because there's only a couple true enterprise grade platforms out there that are doing multi-tenancy and re-rating at scale. And Roni, I don't know if you've been in this market a long time. You're curious your thoughts on
I think because this is very complicated. Like at the end, to be able to read the billing report and to create a beautiful dashboard is very simple stuff. And as you can see, you have 200 vendors that are doing the BI and show you beautiful dashboard. But to be able to rebuild the AWS invoice, I think is super complicated. And the AWS don't make your life easy. Okay, you have so many SKU. Like I think it's around of 4 million different SKU, and with all of the complexity, with the saving plan flexibility, and with the convertible array, and at the end, okay, it's if you show some mistake in the regular view for regular customers, is not good, but okay, you can fix it. But once you're working with MSP and they charge their customers based on your rebilling, is must to be very accurate. Okay, and your mistake make their mistake, and this is how they interact with their customers. And for
it.
them, the billing is the most important of their trust. of their customers. So this, I think, the reason why a lot of customer or a lot of vendor stay away from this task, but the who that have this engine to be able to rebuild it can be great for the MSP. It can be great for the EDP, private pricing, to verify that the discount you receive from the cloud provider is what you should receive. And I know that sometimes they made some mistake, okay, and you want to find at least if it's a mistake that you need to pay more. So this is the reason is because it's very complicated feature.
Yeah. Yeah, the billing errors are a thing. We've been preaching it for a very long time. I think the industry is starting to open their eyes to it. Um, and it's been a interesting opportunity, really, for enterprises. We still get on calls every week and we ask the question, how do you make sure their bills are correct? And we get the eyes from the customer that are, wait, we're supposed to do that? We just trust that the bill is correct, and even in the FinOps Foundation book, I've got it listed somewhere around here. There's a whole section dedicated to, you need to spend time reconciling your bill. And so that's the kind of the blocking and tackling Joe was talking about earlier, related to making sure you have great data quality. And then with that great data quality, then working with great workflows and automation, like we get the chance to do when we work with Wiv. So that's listen, I've enjoyed so much the opportunity to hear you two and your insights on this crazy space we call FinOps, and then we get to play in every day. Thank you for spending the time
Thank you.
to share that with us and the world as they see this later. Roni, specifically, thank you for being a guest on our podcast. If people want to learn more about Wiv, where would you point them?
So first, they can go to our website and Wiv.ai, and then if they want to see a demo, they can book a demo or start free POC and just play with the platform.
Oh, that's amazing. And for anyone interested in Vega and learning more about Vega, same, vegacloud.io. Happy to help you get your hands on the platform and learn more about it as well. If you liked what you heard here today, great. It's all because of Joe and Roni, and I was just in the way the whole time. And please like and subscribe the channel, and we'll be doing more of these in the coming weeks.
Thank you very much. Thank
Great.
everyone.